The recent elections in the United States have brought about significant change in United States trade policy. Whereas in the past, the United States sought open borders and liberal trade policies, this has changed with the election of Donald Trump. Trump wishes to pursue a protectionist agenda, which essentially prevents, to a certain extent, free trade with other countries in a manner which can be deleterious to the American economy if not handled correctly. According to Donald Trump, his new best friend internationally is Russian President Vladimir Putin. What will this mean for Russian trade with the United States, and will business be able to flourish as a result? As seen in this slide, in 2015, the European Union had a significant amount of trade with the United States overall, where Russia did very little. Is this significant, or does it just show that Russia and the United States are very, very young trade partners? To demonstrate this, you take a look at the top 10 Russian imports as 2016 and see that most of the things they gain are machines and vehicles which are not necessarily imported from the United States. This doesn't reflect retail. One of the industries which Russia does export significantly is oil. However, the United States is not a prime user of Russian oil, and their growth is minimal, as can be seen here. As alluded to in the prior slide, Russia's crude oil exports to the United States is minimal. This probably affects the United States foreign policy in the sense that they are not as concerned about oil as other nations would be. Most of what the United States does export to Russia is foodstuffs, poultry, nuts, and soybeans primarily. It remains to be seen under this new relationship with Vladimir Putin whether or not this continues. Because of geopolitical sanctions, however, Russia's ban on imports in certain industries becomes an impediment to U.S. trade. Still, there's a market for these products in other areas of the world, and one would think that regardless of the size of the Russian economy, the United States is not overly concerned. Ultimately, what does it all mean? Will the Trump-Putin bromance lead to an easier time for U.S. business interests in dealing with Russia? Or will they be as difficult as what has been proven in the past? That depends. United States ties to China are now far more extensive than what happens in Russia. But if Russia turns to China to seek products currently available from the United States, that's problematic to American exporters who do business there. Trump's influence on American businesses doing business in Russia remains to be seen. It needs to be a greater understanding of what Trump ultimately wants in the area of trade to really determine whether or not it's going to be a hindrance or help. Returning to the days of the Cold War and glasnost is really not an option here. There has been too much American investment in Russia to be able to turn back the clock entirely on relations between the two countries. It's imperative that it continues to grow. American corporations such as McDonald's, Pfizer, Boeing, and Ford show the strength of the U.S. sector in Russia. The relationship between Trump and Putin needs to be good to continue this trend and continue to grow the market share for those companies. If Putin and Russia do not cooperate with Trump and the United States and there can be no trade deal reached, what is going to happen is the best import to come to American shores from Russia will be as pictured, not a pretty sight.